This is Anna joining the meeting.
Trying to get used to all this high tech.
Morning.
All right, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Let's see, this is the Tuesday, October 26th, regular scheduled meeting of the Lodgers Tax Advisory Committee. Sam, would you like to mind doing the roll call?
Yes, Member Robertson? Here. Member Dozier?
Here.
Chairman Ritchie's?
Here.
You do have a quorum, with 3 present.
All righty. And do we have, I can't remember, do I do the declaration of, I don't think we have, well, I'll ask the
Yes.
two of you, do we have any conflicts of interest with any item on the agenda today? I would say no. Good. And Sam, I would assume we're in compliance with Resolution 2021-01.
Yes, sir. Chairman, this meeting has been posted in compliance with the Opens Meeting Act, our Resolution 2021-01.
All right, thank you. And we'll make note that Member Cheney is here. All righty, let's see, has everybody had a chance to look over the agenda? Here, do you need one? I've got it on my computer. Kelly. Would you mind
Give
giving
him one of those large ones. Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I make motion to approve the agenda.
All right, do I have a second? Second. All right,
I second it.
okay. Let's see. Mr. Cheney.
So I just wanted the minutes to reflect that Member Cheney is now present. So I'll do a roll call for the vote. Member Dozier?
Here.
Member Robertson? Here. Member Cheney?
Here.
And Member Ritchie's.
Here.
Thanks. Motion passes.
All right. Guess you said aye. Okay, let's see, has everybody had a chance to look over the minutes from the special meeting on October 6th? And I'm not sure if Anna was Anna here? No. So, okay, you were on the phone, that's right. Do we have an approval or a motion to approve the minutes from October 6th?
Motion to approve.
A second.
Do we have a second?
Roll call, Member Cheney?
Aye.
Member Dozier?
Aye.
Member Robertson?
Aye.
And Chairman Ritchie's.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Okay. Moving on, the budget report.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Attached for you is the report on lodgers tax ending September 30th, 2021. This is our third month within the fiscal year, so we should be at about 25% of budget. And as you can see, for September, we collected $244,020, which gives us a running total for the fiscal year at $820,000. It should be noted that right now we've collected over half of our budget for the year within the first 3 months, so we are doing really good. And to put it also into perspective, when you're looking from this year to prior year, we're currently over the first 3 months of fiscal year 21 in the amount of $171,216, which is about a 26% increase over the prior year. If you look at expenditures, which is a couple pages down, total expenditures that we've paid, check written off the bank was $585,000, and we have 992,000 open POs. So the ending cash balance ended up at the end of September to be at 1.8 million. Now, a lot of that money was rolled over from the prior year for some of the capital projects that we're undertaking. And on the expenditure report, you can see in the non-promotional capital outlay, which is kind of towards the bottom, you'll see the current projects that are outstanding yet. So if you have any questions. Going right there.
There it is. Sorry, it took me a second to get there.
Oh, okay.
Chairman, I just wanted the minutes to reflect that we have another member that's joined us. Melissa Nans is here with us present now. Thank you.
We're all here. Big happy group. Anybody have any discussion? It's looking good so far. Now we just need some snow.
If any questions come out while you're perusing the report later on, you can always email any questions and stuff, or get hold of me.
So do we have a motion to approve the financial report?
Melissa will make a motion to approve the finances as they are.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I second to approve finances.
Any further discussion? Questions for Judy?
So with that, we'll go ahead and do a roll call. Member Cheney?
Aye.
Member Dozier?
Here.
Member Robertson?
Aye.
Member Nans?
Here.
And Chairman Riches.
Aye. Let's keep it rolling. It's crazy how busy everybody is.
That's a good thing.
It is. It's a good problem to have, to be tired. Okay, moving on. Let's see, quarterly reports. Deborah, would you like to start with Rutas Valley Chamber of Commerce?
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I got it figured out. I sent in my report. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, but some of the stats, we have the Billy the Kid Visitor Center open now. July was our busiest month with over 1,000 people coming in. It's amazing how many people come into that visitor center, like every day. I told one lady, I said, you go home early when the flood, because she lived on the river. I said, you go home, I'll stay here till it's time to close. And I was like, holy cow, these people never quit coming in. But we've had quite a few people in at the visitor center at the chamber as well. We take phone calls there. They really don't take phone calls at the Billy the Kid Visitor Center. So with, in July, phone calls and walk-ins altogether, we had over 800. August, right at 800 there as well. And then September, for some reason, was really busy for, at our visitor center. And then in the quarter, July through September, we did about 540 visitor bags, and those are bags we do for conventions, people having things at the convention center that want information. We do the visitor guide in there, as well as any other information they want, rack cards and that type of thing. And then we've given out a lot of boxes of visitor guides, but apparently my staff was not keeping track of those for the first quarter, so we have started keeping track of those again. I just hired, we've had 2 people out at the Billy the Kid. I just hired another individual. He will start tomorrow. So that one is back fully staffed. And then we're good at the visitor center at the Chamber as well. Art Festival was a really good festival considering the Delta virus kind of went up right before the start of the festival. But we had about 3,000 people over the 3-day event, but we were down from 2019. But everybody was happy. We had a couple artists, several artists, about 7 that had to drop out the week of due to positive COVID tests. But next year's dates are July 22nd through the 24th. Aspen Fest Parade and Festival was very well attended as well. We had about 1,200 adults. We don't charge for the kids because we want it to be family friendly, so we want everybody to be able to afford to come. So we don't charge for the kids, so we don't count them, but we did have about 1,200 adults come through. We had a mixture of live music and a DJ with about 28 vendors plus what Parks and Rec did. And I really want to thank Parks and Rec for helping out with that. They did the kids events, and of course they did got the Mechanical Bull and the Old West photography company, and those went over really well. So Festival Lights Parade is December 4th. The theme is Christmas in Wonderland. So if anybody wants to put in a float, we have the applications ready for that. We're going to be doing social media, advertising on social media and posters locally, as well as the radio. I don't know if you guys know, but we do a Ruidoso Roundup. That's like a 90-second radio spot we send to Roswell and Portales, and it goes Alamogordo and then here locally as well. So that goes out. I try to get in as many of the events that are going on the week of that I can, but sometimes, like last weekend, there was just no way. You can't get them all in, so we just do the highlights of what's going on. Lincoln County Day in Santa Fe, we have scheduled that reception for February 2nd at the Drury Plaza. We have a block of rooms available, so if anybody's interested in that, we have that information at the Chamber. And then Vines in the Pines, we have that scheduled for February 19th and 20th. That's President's Day weekend. So we think that's going to be a busy weekend there as well. And then I'm doing the Chamber Chat radio show, so if anybody ever wants to be on the radio, let me know. We record that usually on Wednesdays, and it airs Friday morning at 8 o'clock. So if anybody has any questions?
Mr. Chairman? Yes, sir. I had a question. So Deborah, what time is the parade for the December 4th?
5:30.
Okay, so it's kind of a light deal, right?
Yes, it's a light parade, so it's in the evening. And then usually after the parade, I forgot to mention this, we will have a party in Wingfield Park. We'll probably do just cookies and hot chocolate this year. In the past, we've done s'mores, but I really don't think sharing s'more sticks and reaching into bags of marshmallows is probably a good thing right now. So
True.
we're going to try to keep that COVID friendly.
And then my second question was, do you have any stats on the listeners of the radio show?
I don't.
Be interesting to know.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I want to know. I tell myself nobody's listening, so. But yeah, no, that would be a good thing to know.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
And are you still, like, we've still been referring people on Friday, Saturday when they're calling it,
We
well,
do-
you probably hear the same thing we do. What's going on up there?
Yeah.
What's going on up here? We can't find a room. So are you still, like, in advance of,
We do, on
Christmas and
the big
Thanksgiving,
weekends,
yeah.
we do the availability list where we
Right.
call everybody and keep track of who has availability. And
yeah.
and I
It's
don't
just-
know if everybody's getting booked up for Christmas and Thanksgiving yet, but we really haven't had any calls of people that can't find rooms yet. So
Right.
hopefully that'll start booking up soon.
It will.
Yeah.
We kind of got into this, it used to be people booked 4 or 5 months out for Christmas, and it just seems like, and Steve may see the same thing, where it's like a shorter time frame because
I think people are waiting to figure
people
out
wait to
what's
see
going to
what's
go
going to
on.
happen, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
One other thought is we're talking about, bringing people in, all the events we're doing and all. We all know the biggest limitation we have right now is staffing. And I don't know if there's a place we ought to start talking about start talking about that in this meeting. I don't know about the funds that we have, if there's opportunities for, us to use some of that, encourage hospitality, employees. I mean, we all know the challenges that we have, and I think it's a comprehensive deal, and I do believe there are other aspects of the village working on that and just different groups. But, well, we got to bring this thing to a head and start working at it in earnest, I think. And so I don't know if this is the place, but I do know that, you talk about the people that come to town and the comments they make. The people that come to my place during the week say, what is going on here? There's nowhere to eat, there's nothing to do. And I get it, it's a lot of towns, but especially in a town like ours that we base our livelihood on bringing people in and showing them a good time, and with our inability to do that right now, I just want to bring it up because, if this group can be a part of a solution, then I think we ought to be.
If I could, real quick,
Oh, go ahead.
I did notice ENMU has a class starting here pretty quick on employability skills. I don't know how much that'll help, because usually the people that take those classes don't really need them, but they are doing that as well as a basic computer skill, and that could help some of the people re-entering the workforce, getting up to,
and Tim can, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Member Cheney, I would recommend that, this committee pass along some type of recommendation to the planning board and to the housing board. And I'd also recommend that anybody interested, please show up to the November 2nd Planning and Zoning meeting. There's a proposed project that's coming up. Oftentimes, the Planning and Zoning meetings only hear the people that are negative on issues. They don't hear the people that are for or positive. And, the last two housing deals that have been proposed were basically killed because all they heard was a negative. So, I would highly encourage that people start talking those up and get behind us on the housing initiatives that we're working on.
Thank you, Mr. Dodge.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
And one of my thoughts as I bring it up is there's two ways to attack that, because that's kind of the core issue, right, is a place to live. And you can either establish housing, or you can establish some sort of a subsidy for, hospitality employees or something. But I'll definitely be there and try to.
Chairman, Mr. Cheney, there's very limited authorities that we have to get involved with subsidies. Here in New Mexico, we got what's called the anti-donation law, and there's only 3 different avenues that we have to get around that. One is Affordable Housing Act, the other is Metropolitan Redevelopment Act, and then the third is what's called LEDA, the Local Economic Development Act. So we're limited on what we can provide for subsidies in that kind of a form.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Ms. King, with the Rudosa Midtown Association. First time to meet.
It is. It's my first time to come before you guys.
Well, welcome.
today. Thank you. I woke up at 4 o'clock this morning. I was like, you got another hour. Go back to sleep. But I am excited to be here.
We're not threatening, so don't worry.
I really kind of I haven't been before y'all, so I really didn't know what to expect. So it is kind of a first time, so bear with me. Thank you. Thank you, Samantha, for giving me till the last minute to turn this into and allow it to be printed. So she did a great job doing that too. But my name is Kendra. It's a pleasure to meet you guys. I took over the executive director position 90 days ago. And yes, I can still keep track of that for the moment. But I think that's only because I haven't had a day off in 90 days. So that's why I'm on that. But that's okay. I'm feeling good about everything, and I worked really hard to get to this position. I was a volunteer for the organization for 4 years prior to taking on the director position, so I feel really accomplished by having set myself up to have earned this position and be, the one that's on top of the ball and knows what's going on and advocating for the district, because I did not work all this time for free to see it go down the hill now. So I'm going to keep on that. So that's who I am. Thank you, guys. And then I introduced our board on the second page here because we have a new board. It's mostly all new members. We only have a few that have been on, but our president is Dakota Montez, and then our vice president is Frankie Lee Reynolds, and she's been on for a couple of years now. And Dakota is really active. I'm really lucky to have him because he's really active in the board. He's the first person that I can call and talk to, and he's on my tail about it, making sure that everything's going smoothly and everything. And so we also have the Main Street directors are pictured in this picture, and I just got back from the Main Street conference in Farmington last week, and that was really an incredible experience. I think I'm really glad that that happened in this first 90-day stretch because it like reinvigorated me about what we were doing, like to be in the room with all these other directors that are doing like the same thing that I'm doing. It was kind of like, okay, all right, I'm not crazy, that we're doing this for a right reason, because some of these other directors have been involved in projects like the lighting project, and I've been watching that come to fruit for all this time now, and we're fixing to see it happen. And so those little things were like reminders of like, okay, these are such great accomplishments that we got through. Farmington had completely remodeled their downtown district, and it was crazy. You wouldn't believe what they did down there. So that was really inspiring too. So on the third page here, I wanted to catch you guys up on like projects that are in the works, because there's things that were like actively going when we switched directors, and there was things that the last director kind of hadn't completed that I had to like pick up the pieces for and things like that. And so these are just a few of them, but one of them is the kiosk here. I put this picture of Jeff, and this guy, Eric, came up from Austin, volunteered his time for the organization, came up from Austin. He was vacationing here, spent a whole 8 hours working on this kiosk for us to get it upgraded so that it'll be touchscreen and it'll operate the widget. So we'll be working together with that. Like finally that'll be kind of fluid. Right now it's still just flashing the slideshow. I haven't completed the technical, like I haven't gone online with him. I actually asked him, can I just do this after October? And he's like, yeah, of course. So it's just gonna sit there and flash pictures until I can catch up right after. I planned on doing that in the 1st of November. I was gonna finish my training with him so that I can operate the website smoother, so that I'm knowing how to like use that app. I don't know if you guys have seen or used that, but it's really cool. But people are going to be able to go up to that touchscreen and like map out that they want to go to White Oaks or they want to go to Alto, and then it'll like send it straight to their phone right there from the kiosk. So it's a really cool little, it really is like that advanced like thingy. And then like I said, I came back from the Main Street seminars this week, which was very inspiring. It was fortunate to get to go up there and just be around everybody else that's doing the same job that we're doing. So it reminded me. And then one of like the main goals that I came into it strong and hard, like we've got to do this, is strengthening the district communication. And that is still like slipping through my fingers. Like I just cannot grab onto it the way I want to, but I am trying so hard. But we're going back and forth. The village has done their newsletter, and I was talking to my board about doing like a private newsletter, but I actually think that it's more involved. The village newsletter is way more involved. It's going out to like a broader audience. So I think that that's the place to hop on there. And so thank you guys for inviting me and giving me that opportunity. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing like a little Midtown update in the village's newsletter, instead of kind of trying to like do maybe my own paper printed version that's gonna maybe just get thrown out or whatever. And so I'm working on that. I really am not sure how to communicate with the district so that, like, for instance, everybody knows what we're doing this week. Like we have an event tomorrow, in case if you guys aren't going to be able to drive through Midtown at 3. And so, but it's going to be worth it, so worth it. But it's that kind of thing that I actually had a volunteer. She went through on her own because she just feels passionately about it. She printed out her own little flyer to like make sure that all the businesses know we are handing out candy on this day, like close that day, come in, whatever you're going to do. But she took that on her own, so I was very thankful for her volunteer time, because she, you know, she's just stepping in and getting involved and helping us out with that too. So, and then maintaining the social media presence, that's always kind of strange. It's very interesting. Social media is very interesting, but so important, because people act like if it's not on Facebook, it's not happening. You know, how would we know? Is Midtown real? You're not on Facebook. So we are, it is real. And so that's, what is Midtown, the association? That's kind of something that we noticed in the last like, when I took over, the organization kind of sat, I hate to use this word in a derogatory term, but I know that we all understand, that we kind of sat stagnant for about 2 years, just unable to do anything, and it drained our momentum, and the wheel got caught in the mud, and here we are, like, so I'm really trying to pull back out of that and remind people that the organization put some awesome murals on the wall downtown, and that we throw fun festivals, and that we are for the community, and that we are doing something besides just Midtown. And so anyways, on my next picture here, I had the wayfinding and how important, that's one of our open projects. The last director had worked really hard on putting together a project to direct people, and I have that written boldly because what is wayfinding? Is it like just signs or pictures, or what is it? But it's directional guide. And so we want to direct people into Midtown from like all the way out to the highway, from Alto. There's only like, I think only actually 2 signs right now, and like one of them is at the corner also, it's right there that says Midtown, this way. And so we want to work on that. That's an open project that is still being worked on, and I know Parks and Rec has been active in it, as well as also adding to that and making it richer for not just Midtown, but all of like the community, and showcasing our outdoor activity and stuff like that. So that's an open project that have my sights on right now, that's big and important, that has not gotten lost or forgotten. And so that's something else that we're going to stand back behind. And then on the next picture, I have a picture of our Yeti. Isn't he great? He's so fun. The mascot was something that was developed on like in the original board. The original like first year out the gate, they came up with like a what are we going to use to advertise picture, because we don't have a location, we don't have a stationary like billboard, or we don't have like what is Midtown. So they came up with this really cute Halloween Yeti that has been all over the place for the last couple of years. Of course, we haven't seen him in a couple of years because he took a little COVID nap. And so, but we revived him. I got a fresh costume. The costume that we had at least 100 miles on it. And so it was looking a little worn. He was looking a little old. So it was one of the first things I did was to refresh the Yeti so that we can remind people, like give people a visual of like remind that, hey, Midtown is fun. Like the association stands for our community and having fun and, you know, bringing that kind of energy and attention. And so there he is sitting there doing Yeti stuff. I don't know if y'all saw the coffin race commercial that we put out on Facebook, but he was in that being silly. And on the next picture, I have a picture of Midtown because I want to remind everybody what we're doing tomorrow. And it's the first thing that I've been fortunate enough to do, but it was also something that I was on the original table that sat down and said, like, we need to close off Midtown. Let's come together. So it was when the Chamber, Village, Parks and Recs, and the Midtown Association came together and said, let's close that, let's pull permits, shut down Midtown, let's take over the streets. And this picture right here on the bottom is my favorite picture of Midtown. Like, we are all right there, and our families, and from corner to corner, you can just see all like of Ruidoso in Midtown. And while the merchants aren't making money that day, we're giving back to the community, and it's just a great reminder to all come together, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see everybody. And we originally did the pumpkin roll the first year in 2019, and it was just such a hit. It was just such one of those quirky little fun things that we all remember standing around and watching the pumpkins roll. I don't know what is so exciting about it, but I was there and I was excited about it.
Anna can tell you.
She won. She won.
You're gonna defend your title?
She did. Yes. And that's exactly how exciting it is, because like somebody we know took away the money that day just for contributing their $5 or $10 on the pumpkins. And so the pumpkins were an issue because the first year that we spent out that year, I think we spent around $5,000 to make that little pumpkin and haunted house activity happen. And this year that was not in the cards. Like after sitting for 2 years and making no money, that was not going to happen. We were really fortunate that somebody donated these pumpkins to us, except for we had to go pick them. So one of my favorite little 4-H clubs got in the truck and we went and made an exciting activity out of picking. We picked about 600 pumpkins that you see right here in the corner. And that was, again, a massive show of volunteers. All of those people drove down there on their own time and dollaring and
and got that taken care of for me. I did pay for the gas because it was the least I could do, so. But that was, it was the cost of paying for the gas for that truck to go down there and get those was a fraction of the original cost that we spent on those pumpkins. So we're gonna have a really great pumpkin roll, and it's, like I said, the first thing that I get to like do that we're rolling along here. I am gonna take a little technical, I don't mean to say technical break because it's not gonna happen, but I'm gonna focus technically on the next month or so because I took over on the 1st of August, and the second day after I was elected, we had an event on the street, like it was rolling out. We were in meetings and had plans, and so fortunately, I was in a position to be able to just seamlessly transition like that, but there are things that are getting like pushed back that are really important, like my ability to operate the website, and I need to sit down and do some training and some technical things like that that are literally gonna take hours of my time. So I'm gonna turn around and refocus on that because I know we are gonna get a little bit slow looking for winter. We are gonna do, look forward to I have on this last page here, our upcoming events. I am going to stay focused on what we signatured out to do, which was the Bruadoso event. It's our major big fundraiser that usually provides us with our like annual rollover funding. So it's really important that we see that one succeed. We're going to continue the Mountain Smoke Festival. I am going to still do some business mixers. I wanted to get one done in the last 90 days, but I don't even know where I am. And so I just haven't got there yet. I want to do it with you. Actually, I wanted to do it at WPS, and I just haven't got there. And so, but I will. So maybe just during this next November, December slower time, I'll be able to do some community involvement with a business mixer, get everybody jazzed up and come around to that again. We're going to continue to focus on our physical improvements projects. That's identifying these little target problem areas of this doesn't line up, or we need sidewalks in these areas, and light poles are fixing to get changed, and all of those things. And then with the light poles being changed, the district communication, because like letting our district know that we are fixing to have a little major construction project happen that's going to improve all of our lives. So I'm gonna hold strong, trying to grab onto that communication thing. I'm gonna figure that one out. And so, but that's really what I have for you guys. And if you have any questions for me, please let me know if there's anything you think I'm missing or I need to be doing or anything like that.
Mr. Chairman? Thanks for that report. That was great. So I like your idea of partnering with the village to communicate, because I'm looking down here at the way we do our quarterly reports, and it's a nice compact way to kind of hear what's going on in different aspects, but that are all related. So to the extent that we can do more and more of that, I know as a business guy, I'm always looking for, I don't know half the stuff you just told me, and I should, but I'm not sure I know where to look, and then I get busy doing other things. And so the easier that we can make it for people to know where to go to see what's going on in Ruidoso, all parts of Ruidoso, the better. So I think that's a great idea. And I probably should have told you, if I can get staff tomorrow night, our plan is to have a band on the patio. So probably should have talked to you about that at one point,
Oh,
but
I
I didn't.
understand.
So, but anyway, it's going to be fun. It was fun the last time we did it a couple years ago. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Okay, awesome.
Get an extra hour's sleep next time.
Okay. Doctor's orders.
All right, Mr. Griego, Parks and Rec.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'll have Sydney present the programs and activities for the last quarter.
Thank y'all. So starting
Very bad.
kind of towards the end of the summer, we had the close of our Wingfield Market, which was farmer's market that we had every Saturday. Ready? I feel like I just kind of started going. Okay. Our Wingfield Market, which was our farmer's market, we had every Saturday from 9 to 1. We had live music, kids' activities. It was a really good experience. Our last one was Labor Day. The goal is to kind of maybe extend it a little next year. The beginning of August, we had our youth fishing days, which despite the rainy weather, it was a wonderful turnout, which some would say is fishing weather, so it kind of worked out nicely. We had disc golf, we had archery, we had fly fishing demonstrations, casting contests. It was a wonderful experience. We had the lake pretty full with quite a whole bunch of children came out, so it was wonderful. We had our wilderness weekends ended at the very beginning, or like the weekend before school started, with our wilderness bash at the Whibbit at the lake. We had about 95 registered through the whole wilderness weekend series. It's harder to say than it should have been. We had our youth sports kickoff in August and September. So for the flag football, our first game was September 11th. We had 127 kids total registered for the whole division. Our youth volleyball, which also started on September 11th, had 73 kids registered. And then our youth soccer, which was the first year that we actually took over youth soccer, and we had 183 kids registered, 182, sorry, which was a wonderful turnout. We had 19 teams with 4 divisions for the soccer. We had 11 teams with 2 divisions for volleyball, and then 17 teams within the 3 divisions for our flag football. And it is a wonderful experience. Reaching that many kids has been really cool to watch them go out and play, and giving not being able to do it last year. We had a phenomenal turnout this year. It was wonderful. Also on September 11th, we kicked off our best received annual kite festival. We estimated attendance of just over 200 throughout the whole 2-day event. Even with some last minute cancellations with COVID from our kite flyers that come out, it was a really good event, and having it with the youth sports, kind of, the kids would come over, make a kite in between the games. That was a lot of fun. Our youth basketball, the 1st through 4th grade division, actually closed registration last week, and we have 118 as of now registered. We're getting teams and stuff started this weekend, so we'll be rolling that out for the first game of November 20th. So it's always going with youth sports. It's a lot of fun. Going into special events. So on that September 11th weekend was fairly busy. We also had our C10 truck show with an estimate of about 50 trucks in attendance at Wingfield. So it was really packed. All of them were classic trucks. So it was a very specific niche for that show, which was really cool to have that many turn out. We also had our Grindstone Trail Race that same morning with a little over 245 runners that started out at Wingfield. On September 18th, we hosted our first ever car and motorcycle show, kind of mixed in with the Ritos Adventure Tours at that Mashburn lot behind Donnie's. Food vendors, music, it was a pretty good event for the first year. October 16th, we had our Indigenous celebration, which was a wonderful event. We had tribes from Arizona, El Paso, all over the state come. I think we we had about 150 vendors that wanted to come. I think about 60 to 75 showed up. But the representation was beautiful. There was dancing and drummers, and it was a really beautiful event. We had the Aspen Fest with the chamber, and we did the bulls and the photographs, which, talking to them, they said roughly about 200 people came through each of those booths, so it seemed to be well received. Photos were really cute. I don't know if y'all actually got to see them, but it was a lot of fun. And then going on to the Ritos Adventure Tours, we had 4 events between July and October, kicking off our last event on the 11th. The first event on the 17th, we had rain the whole time, so didn't have the best turnout. But the August 21st, despite the kind of hectic getting it started, I think it was actually one of our best turned out. Midtown was full. We had vendors throughout the whole time. It was well received. I really didn't see many too bad feedback. It seemed like it was pretty well received, and hopefully we can do something like that again. Then, like I said, the motorcycle show, we had anywhere from 70 to 100 people show up to that. And then the Wingfield Park grand finale party, doing our prizes, we'd say about 50 to 60 that showed up to that one. For the Ritos Adventure Tours, we were involved in a lot of the promotional events for that, so we took booths and vehicles out. We had it out at the Wingfield Markets, we had it out at Youth Fishing Days, the Billy the Kid Pageant, Chili the Kid Festival, the Truck Show, the Aspen Parade, and then quite a few times we actually set up in Midtown to help with the promotion of that, so hopefully that kind of helped with that. I think that was all I have for special events.
As we mentioned earlier, the chamber talked about the radio, and the Parks Department manages the radio. So I just listed for the past quarter different PSAs that were produced by our sound engineer for different community events. Along with all of the PSAs, we have weekly programming Monday through Friday. I did hear your comment on requesting for numbers. I'll have those, number of listeners, I'll have that for the next report. So we have a mixture of programming, Monday with the mayors, Parks and Rec has a show. We have the Ruidoso Roundup with the Chamber. And so we try to utilize that, that resource is getting also the word out on all community events. Again, our sound engineer produces all the PSAs related to those events. He also monitors websites and Facebook for community events, and he will either invite people to come in and produce their own PSA, or he produces them. He does monitor the social media for emergencies and produces PSAs for those as well. Again, there's an open invitation if people in the community, want to participate either in one of the programmings or by advertising or produce a PSA. Our sound engineer can take care of that. They could just reach out to the Parks Department. We can put them in contact. On the convention center, as well, the Parks Department manages the convention center. And for the July, August, and September, we averaged about 8 events during those 3 months. It was a mixture, of different type of events, conferences, and trainings. I'm not sure, I believe they'll present some additional information on impact later. On our trail counts, so we have infrared trail counters on trails at Grindstone and the entrance to Grindstone Lake and the Lynx Trail. We had some issues with change in staff, so we actually weren't able to read the July and September, but I mean, the numbers that are presented in the report are actually the September numbers. And so you can see there's a lot of traffic on those trails. And September will be even higher because we had the race and the bike race and the trail race. Let's see, I also included some information on the swimming pool. We had a really busy summer at the swimming pool. We had a full schedule of swim lessons. All of our classes were full. We sold, I believe, 62 passes, family passes for the pool that included both the Whibbit and the swimming pool. We had a couple of different events through the summer, a movie night, pooch party, an adult night out. We had a few closures during the year due to mechanical issues and some closures with lightning. But we try to keep staff on board. We have a software program that tracks the lightning, and it's actually automatic. It sends out automatic alerts. So and that's connected to the Whibbit as well. And so that actually, like at the lake, it has an audible alarm with a light on it as well. So we experience actually quite a bit of closures, not many full day closures, but a lot of intermittent closures because with all the rain this year. But we still had a successful season at the pool and the Whibbit. I didn't have the Whibbit information in your packet, but between the parking and the revenue from the Whibbit, it was around, we brought in around $250,000. We had around $80,000 of personnel expenses. But I'm considering, I'm not sure what contributed to it, but the lake was actually slower than it had been the previous year. And I think because everything had opened up, that there was a lot more opportunities for people to take advantage of. But overall, it was a successful season. I'll stand for any questions that y'all may have regarding any of the events or programming.
I want to comment on the Indigenous celebration. It was awesome. Y'all did a great job with that. I went out and looked at it and looked around, and everything was just wonderful. It was great. I hope you do it again.
Yes, we will. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. I love your statistics on the trail counts. Does that include deer and elk, or is that?
It could possibly cross in the right place.
But those are the kinds of things that help me understand how well we're doing, and if we could, anything that we do, if we can understand the economic impact better. I know 1,000 people attending an event is not the same for every single event. Depends on where they come from, how long they stay, and so forth. But I don't know, if we could start getting, anytime you guys can produce, not just you, but anybody that we're talking about events, if we could start talking about the economic impact, helps us target a little bit better, I think. Thank you. Great report.
I appreciate that, and we will, there's also some graphing. We actually switched out our counters at the time. We had a different type of counter that wasn't as accurate. This new trackers, you can actually put together graphs and you can compare it to previous years, and so we'll work on getting you all that information. Because I agree, we made a pretty large investment in the trails up to this point, and it's interesting to see the amount of use on them. Another item that's also not in the report, and I apologize, is we did receive the trail maps. And as you all know, that's another very, very popular item in the community. We have distributed them to various businesses in the community that are related to outdoor rec. We post them up at all of our trailheads. And again, if anyone has the need for those trail maps, which includes all of the local trails as well as trails on the National Forest. In planning for future, we will update the map next year to include the trailhead that's going to be constructed in Mud Canyon and any other additions like the Cree Meadows Trail extension. But those are very popular. Again, if anyone has a need for them, we have maps available.
And, I'd be willing to put up a hard copy at the patio out there, and I've bet a few other businesses would as well, and then you've just got something people can stand there and take a quick look at or take a picture of, and maybe a QR code, whatever, but I think you could get some community help.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, tourism.
We're gonna piggyback off of the adventure tours. Look at that, how high-tech we are around here.
I know. Okay, while they talked about the actual events that surrounded it, we'll cover all the marketing that we did behind it with the social media and kind of the pieces that we put together for that and the stats that accompany that. So this first slide, you can see on the website on discoverruidoso.com, the page views that were on the website. We had almost 17,000 page views for the rat tours, as we called them. And you can see that, we had, that's very good coverage for us of people going directly to the site to read about the adventure tours.
So you can see in July, we kind of got off to not a slow start, but we have a spike when we very first started. And then you can see the big spike once we really hit the ground running with our advertising and then in terms of events. And a lot of that, and we'll talk more about the strategy behind some of the ads in a second.
And the next slide shows the different parts of the app, the different screens on the app, so you can just see once they went to the app, the different steps that they went through to get to the specific tours that they were wanting to take. And then this slide really gets into the overall stats that were on the mobile app.
So this is for mobile and then also the widget on, so if you go to the Discover Ruidoso website and you click the Plan Your Visit button, it brings up a widget. So this is if someone was on their desktop or laptop looking at the Plan Your Visit on that, and if you looked at the app on your phone. These are combined. We haven't broken out just mobile in a second, which is probably more related to the tour, but you can see overall.
And so you can see we had 25,000 total, over 25,000 total users. And, you know, one thing here, I think, when you look is the average session duration. Usually when you look at websites, that's gonna, if you get to a minute, you're like, woo! And when you look at, you know, that they were spending 2.5 minutes, over 2.5 minutes per session, that's a, you know, they were really digging into whatever they were looking at.
The other thing is the increase compared to the previous quarter. So we had, you know, a 99% increase in total users compared to the previous quarter. Page views were, you know, over 100%, and then even downloads was way up across the board. So the increase in focus on the app and the widget in general did result in increase in traffic.
And the next slide, you'll see, this kind of gives you the breakdown of where our users were coming from. And so, you know, nothing real surprising here except the bottom one, Washington DC, that kind of.
Always a city.
So, but, you know, Arizona, Texas, New Mexico. So that's what we would expect to see there. Then the mobile app stats, over 16,000 users. Again, looking at the minutes that they were on there, 4 minutes, and I think that goes to show that, you know, these were actually the people that were out doing the tours, and they were, you know, on them, recording their stops and everything. But and you know, when you look at the page views, 224,000, and that was an increase of 264% from the previous. So they were really digging in and using, you know, getting out there and actually doing the tours. This just shows you, we always take this and you can see what the top popular items were. And so it just tells you, you know, it kind of gives us a shot at what the item, the motorcycle challenge, hiking, off-road, so we can kind of see what the more popular tours were and where they were stopping. Then we get into the actual advertising that we were doing to promote it. So Kelly, I'll let you hit on the social media.
Yeah, so we did advertising, both Facebook event for the different events that were happening, but then also specific to each tour. And we did that on Facebook, Instagram, and then had specific creative for Instagram and Facebook stories. The reach was over 400,000, impressions were 1.2 million, so meaning that some person saw the ad more than once. Results of over 7,000, that result means they either responded to an event, they clicked through to the website, you know, they liked, commented, stuff like that. And then we spent a little over $5,000 in terms of social media marketing.
Then we also, the El Paso billboard that you guys have heard us talk about ad nauseum probably, but it's the one that we use to rotate events through, and we used that during the month of August, and we did art for each one of the tours. So we rotated, you know, the horseback, the OHV, and then we had one for the overall tour. And so that was very heavy in El Paso during August, and I believe a little bit into September. Mm-hmm. And then the print advertising, that is just an example of the full page ad that we ran in Neighbors Magazine, which of course accompanied when we were the cover, the feature story in the Neighbors Magazine, which comes out of Las Cruces, where they feature a town or a community in New Mexico each month and do a story about that. And so when they featured Ruidoso, we advertised heavily in there for the rat tours. We had over 350 total participants and this is just some of the ways they participated. The Berry Hill Fun Run, they took pictures of themselves out doing the tours. We had those signs made where they could interact with the social media, encouraging them to repost on any of our social media and tag themselves. So those are just some examples of that. We had, as I said, over 350 participants, almost 900 completed tours, because some obviously did more than one tour. And then there's the breakdown of the different tours, the number of the different tours that were completed. Disc golf obviously was very popular. And then the winners, we highlighted who won each grand prize and pushed that out on social at the end as well, along with the pictures of the ones that we had. So all in all, I think it was a successful event. I think people, got into it as time went on. And I know we fielded a lot of calls. I know Parks and Rec did too, as it came to the end, of people who were like, here's my name, here, can you please check, make sure that, I'm in there, and so, I know that we all worked really hard to make sure that everybody that did the tours was in the final shakeout for the prize. So I think it was overall a big success.
The only thing I was going to add in terms of the advertising, so you can see when we started that more regional and into West Texas push, into July, early August with the billboard, we were in the magazine, we added on digital. And then as it got closer towards the end of the event, my geo-targeting got smaller. So, we weren't, whereas before we were reaching out to like West Texas and a little bit more of a drive, but as we got closer towards the end of it, it became more like El Paso, Alamogordo, Las Cruces, Roswell, the eastern part of New Mexico. So some that could come up and could realistically do like a day trip. And so that's how we shifted that. Mira and I were on hand for the grand prize party and helped out with Parks and Rec and announcing that, and the stress of trying to hand out $80,000 of prizes. So I was guarding the list with my life. So
any questions on that?
Mr. Chairman, you guys are awesome. So a few things. Are we going to do this again next year?
Look at Tim.
Obviously, we have to kind of plan on some things, but.
Mr. Chairman, I think that's up to you all in your next budgeting cycle.
Okay. And so what's our success measure? When y'all went into this thing, did we have like a targeted number of, you tell me, what were we looking for when we started this, the Discovery Tour?
I think that, that's something as we look to next year that we need to be better about, is setting what those benchmarks and KPIs are going into the event. I think this year we were really just looking to get people out into the community and out and around the county, especially coming out of COVID, and exploring different parts of the community. And so I know that Samantha and Mr. Dodge and I have talked about, next year, are there ways that we could even get the community involved more and local businesses involved more, and even spreading out the events around town? So I think that being a first-year event, really it was participation numbers, and then also, involvement on the app and getting people out there.
And I think that now that, we have these numbers and looking on the weekends that we had the events, and to go back and say, okay, was this the right weekend to do it? Could we shift that around to get more participation, or, did we, how can we do it better? And then we kind of laid our benchmark this year on an event that was completely unknown. So I think just, we kind of had to get out there and do it, and now we have those benchmarks to then compare against.
Yeah, like I said earlier, it's kind of hard to find all the things that are going on. I didn't have to look for this one. It felt like every time I turned around, something was coming up about it, which is what you want. And so it feels real good. I just don't know if it cost us $50,000 to feel real good, or if we're made money, or broke even, or whatever. But I love it. I hope we can repeat it. I hope we're, able to, I hope it's a big economic impact for us, because it does feel like a lot of fun. The last question I'll ask you is, you had mentioned something, I can't remember, but anyway, my son lives in Denver, and he got home the other day and took a picture of a New Mexico True billboard in the airport or somewhere where he was. He says, I cannot get away from New Mexico, which is a good thing. But my question was, targeting Texas, New Mexico, and a little bit of Arizona, and we saw the reports about Washington DC popping in there. Do we know what New Mexico True is targeting? Because it makes a lot of sense to, dovetail into that.
Yeah, they obviously target a lot of the same, so DFW, Austin, Chicago, Denver, Houston. So they're going after some of the more major cities, and working through the co-op to handle more of those drive-in markets, because that still is a huge, for the entire state, is drive-in, with the exception of, Albuquerque, basically. Las Cruces flying into El Paso, but they might also be a little bit into California. I haven't heard the latest on that, but they go into like airports and places where we've done some in the past. We don't have that in our plan this year to be into airports, just with travel still kind of being wonky from COVID, but.
Well, and once you get into a lot of those, the bigger airports have generally been outside of our budget.
Sure.
That's why, we, like El Paso and Albuquerque and those, we can generally handle, but when you get to the Houstons and the Denvers and stuff like that, they get a little rich for us.
I think the state's also done a good job of revamping the co-op program. So we historically haven't participated in it because of the branding guidelines they had. So their logo, pre-rebrand, just didn't work with our logo. And they wouldn't even let us use our logo.
Yeah, you couldn't use our logo, which is why we had never participated before.
So now they are. So for example, the transit in Tucson, that's a buy that we're doing through the co-op program. So it has the New Mexico True. So they're getting an extension of their brand through places like us. And I think I was talking with Robin here at the Village, whose daughter lives in Tucson, and we're on one side and I think Silver's on the other. So like New Mexico True is all over Tucson, so.
Okay, well, I was just asking from a leverage standpoint. Obviously, if they're spending dollars and we can piggyback, not to put another billboard in the airport, but to think, okay, well, if we're targeting disc golf, for instance, and we know the national championship is in Washington DC, and then they're doing things, are we, kind of focused on that market a little bit, and some things like that, but it's great to have a partner at the state level.
Yeah, it is.
So this is the presentation that we gave to council last week, a week ago.
Week before, yeah.
And so a lot of this you guys have already seen. We hadn't provided an update to council in a while. And so we were just providing them that, of what we're doing in the fall and moving into the winter. So we can move through a lot of this. It's just visuals and we can go through quickly. But like I said, we just hadn't done one to council. So we just gave them a brief update on the overall strategy. I know we've talked to you guys about how COVID's changed the way that people travel, and how Ruidoso puts us in a good position to benefit from that because of our wide open spaces and room to roam, and then a lot of our individual lodging properties. Whereas in the past, due to COVID restrictions, we hadn't had a very strong call to action. Right now, it's very much plan your visit. And we've been doing that throughout the fall and winter, focusing on annual events and outdoor rec, and then just natural beauty. Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, those are all our target markets. And then speaking about the co-op, we have that $100,000 match in terms of advertising placements and marketing services from the tourism department. This is our current list of media buys. The ones in yellow are part of the co-op, and this is actually, it feels like it shifts on a week-by-week basis. So there's some that are Carrie and I have been working on just this week that aren't included here in terms of Television, we're already talking about Olympics in February, and getting on different NBC affiliates for that. And so, like I said, most of this you guys have already seen.
And we do have our video shoot coming up at the beginning of December that is part of the co-op buy. And so they'll be coming up to do the video shoot. So that is part of that buy that's coming up.
A lot of the creative you guys have already seen in terms of our fall campaign. Here's some of the print and social. Here are the billboards that are in Phoenix and El Paso. We have them where they show what the temperature is here currently, and then some that don't. And then the branding for the military bases, the logo's in green for whenever we do military. Email and web, we update the website depending on the season or what's happening. And then just having content that's specific to that time also. We already mentioned the digital billboard in El Paso in terms of how we used it for the tours. Here is some more tour advertising. And then how we're using it specific for events. So when an event has come and asked for lodger's tax dollars or is a community-wide event, we're using that board in El Paso to drive some of that weekend and day traffic. And then the digital component that goes along with all of those billboards. Here is some of our summer advertising. We're utilizing Facebook and Instagram stories and making sure we have vertical video and photos for those. Here's the outdoor rec ads we had. And then I know we've shown you guys the video. Brett and his family are going to be the features of the upcoming shoot that Carrie mentioned in December. And so it's going to focus on, they're going to go out to Winter Park and do tubing, and they're going to be hanging out in a cabin, having hot cocoa by the fire, and then in Midtown, working with Kendra to get that set up so they can do some shopping and be in the Midtown district. So kind of that winter getaway, and hopefully there's snow somewhere. Even if it's Winter Park and we have to ask Tom to spray more snow, please, can you make it look like it's winter? And then going into the New Mexico True Co-op, I mentioned they over $100,000. Here's the breakdown of media that's currently live, both digital and traditional media. One that I would note is like Texas Monthly is a publication that we'd been in the past. We haven't done recently because of the price, but we're back in there thanks to working with the co-op. D Magazine in Dallas, that's another one that you guys had maybe done in the past, but not recently. Connected TV, so using those, the video shoot that we did this summer, it's on like your Hulu and set top in the Dallas area. We also have, in terms of digital display in Dallas and West Texas, so a mix of highlighting events and then also just outdoor rec. Through the co-op program, we're also doing, if you search for things to do in New Mexico or where to hike in New Mexico or family vacations, we provided them with a set of keywords, and through the tourism department, they're running our Google ads for us. Out of home, this is in Dallas and West Texas. Here's the Texas Monthly that I had mentioned. So one thing you'll notice is that the branding, though, with New Mexico True is very strict. So you get a headline, you get the logo, and you get a URL. Whereas you'll see the ones where we have our Discoverito So badge, it's just a different look. But here's our example of the D Magazine, the transit in Tucson, and buses. We also, like I said, have a digital component to that. Anytime we have an out-of-home, we also like to have a digital, so Facebook, Instagram. Through the readiness recovery with the tourism department from last year, I know we've talked about the Google DMO program. They came out and did a photo and video shoot with masks, and then they are still providing a little bit of support in terms of social. That will end in December. We now have a a virtual tour. It's like a 360 Google tour. It's on the website, and so they go to Grindstone Lake, and so you can click on these little dots, and it shows you different areas. This was obviously before we'd had the canopy up when they did this, and the Whibbit was not in at that time. Spencer, Fort Stanton, and then the racetrack. The digital goals for this year, we've already talked about during this meeting. There was just an update to council. And then some of the overall social stats. So we're basically flat in terms of our audience. Some of the impressions and engagement are down July through September compared to before. A lot of that has to do with, we really hit it hard at that April, May, June, when we moved into turquoise, and we felt like there was a light at the end of the tunnel, and we were gonna, the July 1st reopening. So we really hit it heavy in terms of social advertising. We also were trying to spend our budget before the end of the year, that we hadn't been able to spend as actively throughout the year. So that's why those numbers are down. I don't think there's any reason to be concerned. And even though they are down, we're up 1.5 million impressions over the same time last year. So it's down quarter over quarter, but year over year, we're way up. That just shows the impressions. And then here are just some of our top performing posts during this time for Facebook and Instagram. The other thing that we started doing this more so in the last fiscal and moving to this fiscal is more on Reels and TikTok. And we've seen really good engagement and reach on those. Twitter. And then the website, overall, we've had a really nice increase across the board. I think our efforts in Arizona are paying off year over year. We've had over 184% increase there. Texas is up. New Mexico's flat, which isn't surprising because we did do a big push last year of like staycation and really targeting New Mexico when we weren't able to do out of state as much. And then also an increase in California traffic to the website. And traffic to Ruidoso. Here are just like our top channels. Organic is still a huge, so people type in Ruidoso and they end up on our page. Direct, they type in Discover Ruidoso, and then social and referral. Thank you for investing in the new webcam. That continues to remain a top page for the village. The second one is the homepage. And one change that we've definitely seen this year compared to last year is like the events coming back. I know that Deborah and I've talked about in terms of RV parks and campgrounds, that continues to increase in terms of people calling and asking about those. And so what's next? Well, let's pray for snow. So this is an example of one of our Discover Ruidoso print ads. See, it's just different than the New Mexico True. And this ad's running in one that is in Alamo Heights area of San Antonio, so a really affluent area of San Antonio. And then just some of the digital and out of home. And this is the update, and it should be in market currently, refreshed to those buses for winter.
And then before we get to questions, the one other thing that we wanted to hit on is, hopefully you've all seen the newsletter that is another project that we've taken on for the village, and we're doing this monthly, and our third edition is at the printer right now and will drop this next week. And so we're putting it out the beginning of every month, and hopefully the plan is to eventually go to an all digital edition. But in order to, get people involved in it, we do have a plan to just continue to print it, and we got a voter list, and so it goes to all registered voters. Right now, I think our list is at about 8,700 people, and we continue to purge it every time we send it out. And we just want to get people involved in what's going on because, you know, I know you guys hear it as well. We don't know what's going on in the village. And so it gives people another avenue to, you know what's going on with finances and what's going on with our water situation. And Kendra had mentioned it, we are going to, with the 4th edition, we're going to include a part about that Deborah's going to contribute to, a part that Kendra's going to contribute to. So we'll begin to wrap those two entities in as well. And so, you know, we always try to have on the back mailing panel an event. And then the insides are more of the meaty stuff. So we have gotten really good feedback on that. I think management and council is continuing to get good feedback on that. So that's another big project that has been going on since our last meeting. So now, any questions?
Guess what? I have a question. No, actually, it's more of a comment. I really enjoy getting that in the mail. It may be a generational comment, but as you move toward more digital or complete digital, I would just ask that you kind of really assess, that, because with the information overload that I feel, once something goes digital, I probably don't look at it very often. But if it shows up in my mailbox and I know to look for it, then I'll throw away all the junk, but I'll keep that one. And I can glance through it, and it's just helpful. I keep it around for a little while, too.
Right.
So, just a comment.
And that's always been Mayor Crawford's advice to us is, you still want to keep at least 25% print traditional, because even we will get older and maybe we're used to iPads at some point in the future and there's something completely new, but we'll use iPads and there's still that big demographic that comes up here that prefers, Texas Monthly seeing something. Or
No, I agree. I haven't said it out loud to Mr. Dodge yet, but I think we're going to have a hard time going away to just digital once we've done this.
So, follow-up question, are there any plans, and obviously I'm just talking about adding cost, but to expand the distribution? You're talking about voters, but do we have target markets that we want to start sending to at some point, or is that going to have to be digital?
I think that if we do, because we also do a digital version that we put on the website. So anybody that is a second homeowner or, we put it up on social media, we announce it on social media when the issue is ready. So it does have a broader distribution than just voters. So, we can continue to push that, and I think
We also have
that,
the email list.
and we've got our email list of, people who we've developed through the Discover Ruidoso site and through our municipal
water.
site and the utility.
Mr. Chairman, I think we didn't just include the voters, we actually included the utility list as well, and we merged those two together. So some of them, I know that we were getting duplicate copies sent, I know that I received one to resident and then one in my name. So, and we've been trying to narrow that down. The first edition, we had several sent back, so we've just been trying to clean it up. But all the comments that I've been getting they really like the print. So, yeah. I ran into a lady at the dog park and she was like, "Oh, I love that newsletter and I hope you guys don't get rid of it because there's no newspaper in town anymore."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, there is a newspaper, but it doesn't have any local coverage." So,
Exactly.
So we just wanted to give you guys the update that we had provided council last week, some things that we didn't include in there in terms of PR outreach. So we are getting the influencer and journalist outreach has increased over the last month or so. So we're getting those travel writers that are getting back out there. We just had an influencer in town this past weekend who was here 2 or 3 years ago, pre-COVID. And she was from the Houston market originally. She's since moved to Tennessee. But she says that her Ruidoso travel guide's her best performing travel guide. And so, and then just other reporters and journalists reaching out to both of us. So hopefully that will pick up. And the way we handled that one is we just sent an email out to our lodgers tax list. Asking if anyone was willing to host and that we get you set up as a vendor with the village to be compensated. So we'll continue to send that out as they come through.
So with that, I had to spurred another question. So I've been listening to podcasts lately. It's kind of new for me. I listened to one a year before that. But anyway, talk to me about that for a second. Is that an opportunity, or what are you thinking on that?
So when the radio station first launched, we did have one called the Village Volume that was supposed to be more targeted towards tourism, or that was the idea. It also was in the middle of COVID though, so we weren't really having events. It has since evolved into other shows, and now, I think that time slot, was that you now? Chamber Chat, so that's kind of, and then also the Parks and Rec, their show, they really talk a lot about like the upcoming events. What is your show called? Weekend Preview, yes. And so both of those are, we have the radio station website, and they have their social channels, but also within the app itself, we have a link on there that connects to those. So it's not necessarily specifically tourism focused, I think is how we originally thought of it, but I think it actually works out better now, highlighting the local businesses on one, and then also highlighting like what's happening in the weekend, so. So we do have, I guess, a little bit of a podcast, but maybe not a.
And we highlight those on our social media, we put those out.
Tell you what, going back to the adventure tour, because Kelly was rolling, I didn't want to stop her earlier, but
All right, I was trying to move fast.
I would make a recommendation, maybe Rodney, to think about next year holding it on a weekend, early November, because things taper off, especially October. I mean, like, that first Aspen Fest weekend was jam-packed. Then you've got, every weekend, you just kind of, you're like, whew, there's so many things going on. The one thing I've noticed, and this was probably a COVID deal last year, but this year it's been really prevalent, is we do have a lot, like at our place, we do have a lot of people that come in Sunday, Monday, and stay for 4 or 5 days. And this is the group now that wants to go hiking, wants to go biking all through October. And I mean, obviously with the exception of today, we've got bluebird skies most days, leaves changing, that kind of thing. And so October traditionally, I mean, I know last year, I think on today we got all that snow, but most days are beautiful for hiking. And we do have a lot of people that come up because a couple of them said this month, the trails are gonna be quieter. Kids are back in school. We want to get up and get out. And so if you possibly hosted it maybe like the first weekend of November, when things traditionally kind of taper off just before Thanksgiving, that might give its own weekend, something to generate excitement for locals and maybe for people to come in early November. And there's not any kind of competition with all of the events that are going on in October, youth sports as well. So just something to think about, but October is just a beautiful time to be out and about. So does anybody else have any questions? All righty.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
is there like a consensus from the committee that that's something that you want to continue doing next year?
I think it was for the first year and, COVID, you had a Delta spike in Texas, you had, everybody still had a mask mandate, unsure. I think there was a great turnout, and especially not knowing as you go into it, and we can certainly over the next, probably 4 to 6 months, all of us, reflect and make it even better. But, and there's opportunities, I was thinking too, is possibly with the county going into farther and farther areas, especially motorcycle. There's some hiking trails that you could get a little bit farther out, and chances for cooperation from maybe other communities. But for us, like Ruidoso alone, I think it was very well received.
And the reason I'm bringing that up is, I had a conversation with Rodney that we really need to start getting together and planning, all the events for next year, start working on them. And then on Monday, Tim Roberts starts with the village.
Right.
We've hired him with the convention center, the radio station, and the Wingfield House is what he's going to be overseeing those operations. So I think it's just, time, and if that's if you all are in agreement to move that project forward again, I think we could start working on those plans since now. But on the November, I totally agree, we need to probably push it back some.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we look at planning and put a budget together for the Discovery Ruidoso tour event again for next year.
Tour two. Do.
Mr. Chairman, I just looked for consensus, and we can work on that, but it's not on the agenda for an action item. But with your consensus, we'll start working on that and then bring
we'll
action
do it
items
on-
forward to y'all
For sure, for
for
sure.
formal approval.
All right, thank you for that.
Anything else?
That is it, thank you. All right, the Ruidoso Convention Center, Mrs. Crawford. I think you've got, yeah, it's the rainbow deal.
This is, okay. And on the total, it's 38,572, if you want to write that in. And that number was lower, just mostly due to August. We had lots of cancellations in August, so. The
Makes
sheriff's,
sense.
So, and we're still having cancellations due to COVID at the convention center. The Jehovah Witness, they canceled. The Rotary thing tonight canceled.
Right,
The Oktoberfest and the Jubilee, they all are canceled, so.
yeah.
So we're looking forward to next year, 22. Hopefully we'll be back to normal. If you'll look at 17, how much more money we made than we are now. But
Right, crazy.
gives you a little, but I did do these monthly, so we can look at these, like, we'll look at July 1st, and I did do an impact study on the bigger events that came in July, like the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. They had 3 room nights, they stayed 3 nights in town, and it was an impact of $220,000. So, I mean, that's counting the stay at the hotel and them eating out, and we got a figure on that. So that just kind of gives you an idea of 1, 2, 3 nights staying here, how much money they actually spend. So that kind of gives you an idea. But y'all, I don't really have to go through all this. Y'all can look at these, just kind of what the room revenue is, and then the impact study. So on each one of the months. And we are down, of course, because of cancellations on the events that we are having, but that's picking up in January. So we don't have much coming up next month, and then December. Just very few things. We're having a Christmas affair that's going to take like Jubilee canceled, so a lot of the local vendors wanted to still have one, so they're having one,
Good.
and they're full, and everybody's excited about it.
When is that?
Going on. It's the first weekend in December.
Okay.
So that, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, I think.
Awesome. Are you seeing like, are like you said, the sheriff's group canceled, are these groups that canceled, or are people already booking for like next summer and going ahead and? Okay.
Yes, we are, the sheriffs are coming next year.
Yeah, and a lot of these groups that traditionally come, they're already
Yes.
booked, okay,
Yeah.
sweet.
And like Jehovah Witness, I don't know, they'll be kind of, Bernadine would know more about that, but they're so large that the COVID really affects them
Yeah.
because there's so many of them.
Right.
So, but I guess that's all really I have. Y'all can kind of look through that, but it's kind of pretty obvious that COVID has affected the
Yeah.
convention center quite a bit.
Right in the middle of August.
Yeah, well, August is one of our bigger months. We used to have the
Yeah.
football team and the sheriffs come in.
Right.
And then there's the family physicians come every other year. And then we have bankers come in August. So it's usually a really, really, really good month, but it wasn't this year.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions?
Okay?
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. All right, moving on, new business. Karen Kelly. This This is the monthly retainer for content creation for the Discover Ruidoso website to increase from $500 a month to $1,000 a month. And I'll turn it over to Carrie.
Okay, we just wanted to request an increase for, you guys know Ellen, I mean, you don't know her, but you've heard her name. She's worked with us for, gosh, probably 11, 12 years now, on the website, on the Discover Ruidoso website. And she helps us manage it, and she, I mean, works tirelessly on it. And we have had her for the last few years on, we've been paying her $500 a month. And we would like to increase that, we would like to request an increase to $1,000 per month, because the tack that we take on the website is like an overall content management approach to it. And we've listed the stuff that she does on the website, and it's, so we're not coming to you saying, you know, we're asking her to go from writing 1 or 2 pieces of content a month to 4 pieces. She does, you know, she takes care of keeping the event calendar updated and all the seasonal updates. So when you get onto the site and you see that all of a sudden it has a fall look instead of a summer look, and you know, she makes sure that it stays looking like what it looks like outside, and does provide new editorial content, at least 3 pieces a month. And, you know, just to give you some idea, most travel sites, they'll pay somebody $500 a month per piece for that. She is constantly researching and sourcing new content, looking for new angles of articles to write. She looks at what businesses are closing, opening, restaurants closing, opening. And because if you look at the site, a lot of our content references specific, you know, the top 5 breakfast burritos in Ruidoso. And so she has to make sure that nothing is outdated there. And so she does all of that. All of our keyword targeting, making sure our SEO stays on track. And as well as, you know, she and Kelly and I monitor all of our online competitors and what they're doing, and then repurposing content to make sure that, you know, we have, we're getting maximum use out of everything. And Kelly and I have just talked about, we don't feel like the $500 is commensurate with the services that she's providing. And so we would just like to request that we can increase her contract. We've talked to Samantha, we do have the budget for that. And Kelly, am I forgetting anything in the request?
No, I'll just add that she's a travel writer and has traveled the world, and so she stays up to date on travel trends and make sure our content is in line with that. But then also, like, if something performs really well on social and we don't have, you know, a sufficient Manjo Lookout article, she'll write, you know, that's an example that just happened this week. She'll write it or update it, and just staying on top of, you know, questions that we get on where can I take my OHV out, and then she builds out a robust OHV page. And so making sure that we're meeting the needs of the visitors and users. Questions?
Do not have a problem. I'm, you know, looking at some of the big Colorado tourism areas in Utah and Arizona. I mean, we're up there, if not, I mean, nobody's better. There may be some that are on par, but, you know, there's a couple in Colorado that are, I'm not going to name names, but they've still got summer pictures up, and we're getting into October. I mean, I was in Gunnison in September, and it was already yellow and beautiful, and there's no content change. And so, you know, for us, Discover Ruidoso, I mean, this website is very, very important, and it has been I mean, we see the traffic that goes to it, and keeping it updated is, yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with this at all. Does anybody else have any discussion? Do we have a motion to approve?
I make motion to approve that Ellen Barone's monthly contract goes from $500 a month to $1,000 a month.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
Right. Any discussion? Further discussion? None? Okay.
Roll call, Member Cheney,
Aye.
Member Dozier,
She gave a thumbs up.
She's smiling.
Member
so-
Robertson,
Aye.
Member Nance,
Aye.
and Chairman Riches.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
Motion
Thank you all.
passes. Okay, next item, tourism director job description.
Chairman, within your packet, we have presented our tourism director job description. This position will be an in-house position as opposed to a contractor as it was held previously. It'll be a direct report to the village manager. And so we are wanting to get a recommendation from you all and also present this to the governing body so we can move forward with advertising this important position.
And I'll add that Carrie and Kelly sat down, I guess it was with you two and Mayor Crawford and worked this one out, correct?
Mr. Chairman, members, Rodney, Samantha, and Tourism sat down and they looked at the needs of this position. Originally, when we had posted it, we combined the convention center position and this, and when we went out for advertising, we saw that we're getting one person that had a strength in one area and weakness in the other, so we decided to split it again. This position as a tourism director will be funded through the administrative fees that are, charged to the lodger's tax and go into the general fund. So that's our recommendation, is to create it as an in-house. Previously it was a contracted position paid directly out of lodger's tax as a contract position because you can't use lodger's tax dollars for personnel. But the administrative fee that goes into general fund, we can utilize that. So after visiting with everybody involved, our recommendation is this job description.
Mr. Chairman?
Sir.
So my question, and it's kind of 101, so I apologize, but I need to understand the relationship between these entities that gave the quarterly reports and the tourism. Some of these are, I guess, on their own, some are under the village. Help me understand the relationship and how this new position is going to interact with them in terms of Midtown, the chamber, convention center and so forth.
The expectation would be for them to be like an exo official to these organizations and other entities and tie all of the efforts together so we can work collaboratively and all have the same kind of a goal set, which is to increase tourism to our village.
Thanks.
Does anybody else have any? All right. Well, thank all of you for your efforts for getting this streamlined and together. So with that, do we have a motion to approve, how are we going to word this? Approve the tourism director job description?
I make a motion to approve the job description as is.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All righty, any discussion? Any further discussion? No.
Mr. Chairman, one of the things that I do want to point out is if you look at the job description, we rated it as a 90. So that elevates the pay a little bit from what we had previously advertised.
Correct.
When we look at our pay plan, that 90 is a step up from that level of a position. And we did that for recruitment purposes. So this is above our normal pay plan.
Right.
I just wanted to point that out.
And in line with when it was a contract position. I mean, it's right there, so. Yeah, on the high end.
It's actually over.
Over when you add,
Yes, because the top end is right at 80,000. But with this position, they get the benefits of an employee.
right,
So you have to add at least about 25% burden just depending on what benefits they participate with.
Correct.
So it's about 25% richer than what it was before.
Okay.
All right. Did we have a motion on the floor? Okay.
We did.
Member Cheney?
Aye.
Member Dozier? She signals yes.
She signals
Member Robertson?
Aye.
Member Nance?
Aye.
And Chairman Ritchie's.
Aye.
Thank you.
You. Finally, discussion and possible action on meeting dates for 2022.
Chairman, we've brought this to you all. I have a sample calendar, the last page of your all's handout. I think that due to all of the special meetings that we've had to have since coming out of the pandemic and all of the events and activities that are taking place and just the momentum, quarterly meetings are not really working out very well for us, and I think it would be more appropriate to have set bi-monthly meetings. That way you all know when the meeting dates are in advance, and I just am looking to you all to see if bi-monthly meetings would be something you would like to move to.
I think that'll work better. I mean, I know that when I first started, and you'll remember, and Mr. Talley and Rodney, but when it was once a month, there were a couple times we'd come in here and 20 minutes later, we kind of looked at each other and said, all right, that's great. And there's other times that you needed it. The quarterly has been, it's been too spread out, and especially as busy as Ruidoso is becoming, the amount of events that are growing. I think this works. This is a good balance. So, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, question, so I want to be very responsive to those entities that need our support, but at the same time, planning is important to all of us, and so is there a deadline on you must have your request submitted 2 weeks prior to the meeting or something like that, so that we can communicate that heavily?
2 weeks would be cutting it kind of close. I would ask as soon as the need arises or something comes up that they make contact with us so we can work with them in getting them the proper paperwork and getting them on the agenda. But 2 weeks would probably be a good timeframe.
And I'm just suggesting that we put that out there to tell folks and give them a heads up now that, look, if you don't get your deal in prior to, and I just threw a number out, and let's pick the number of days, but if you don't get your request in time, there's a big chance you may not get your funding. So pay attention to the deadlines.
Generally, we do the funding requests at the budget meeting, big groups and that kind of thing. The event that we funded in September, motorcycle rally, was not in presence in April, but I think once we have a point of contact with a tourism director, this has been kind of a weird 6-month span, but once you have that point of contact, I know in the past, there was not really an issue with like a last-minute meeting or needing something to be called. It was a little bit more streamlined. So I think once we have that position, it'll work itself through.
Mr. Chairman, members, Samantha's actually started working on a flow chart that kind of, goes with the budget calendar and requests, and, and it's going to coincide with the meetings. So once she establishes this, at the next meeting, she'll be bringing that forward so that people know when we're going to put out the notice for special events to apply, and, how that works all the way up into the budget. So
Okay.
we'll have a better, clear path to how to get there.
Okay.
Identified.
So with that, do we have a motion to approve the meeting dates for 2022?
I make motion to approve 2022 meeting dates.
Okay, do I have a second?
I will second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Okay. Just to let you all know, whenever we bring the Opens Meeting Act resolution in January to you all, we'll go ahead and include those dates in the resolution.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
So roll call, Member Cheney,
Aye.
Member Dozier. She signaled yes. Member Robertson.
Aye.
Member Nance.
And aye.
And Chairman Ritchie's.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right.
I second.
Second. All right, I bet there's no discussion. So with that, this meeting is adjourned.
I can't see both my
We're gonna need
Sorry, I was running late. I was waiting for an employee to get there.
What do you, a magnifying glass for clothes? I'm gonna have to carry all that in my purse, and then my fan for my own.
Yeah.
On the back shake.
I think you just say stop on there, I think.
Bye, you have a good day. Send us dates to Anna. She has dates at least.
I have another meeting with him coming up like in a couple of weeks. Did you want to post on?
You can just throw it right there.
I'll keep this up to
I guess
date.
there's some new features and stuff that we wanted to kind of run through. So, yeah. Did you notice on that report, though, the number of devices?
I'm gonna visit with you about some personal.